Today, I go behind the scenes to speak with Artist Commissioning Program awardee Jaime Sunwoo. Hi everyone, my name is Marcus and I'm a musical theater writer and director. I am also the Artist Commissioning Program 2020 awardee for playwriting. Today we're going to go behind the scenes to speak with the other awardee, Jaime Sunwoo, about her project and how she put it together. What are you eating today?
Okay, so today I am eating some spam breakfast bowl, and I've got some crispy seaweed and also some white rice with sesame oil and soy sauce and sesame seeds right here. And I have some egg, and then I have some crispy spam.
That sounds great. So speaking of spam, why don't you tell us what your project's about?
Okay, so my project is called Specially Processed American Me, and I use the history of spam as a way to unlock a lot of my own family history and also shared histories within what I call the spam diaspora, but basically spam eaters throughout the Asia Pacific. Yeah.
So why did you decide to write the show?
I decided to write it because I think spam's a really rich metaphor for Asian American experience. Uh, the reason why I call my show Specially Processed American Me is because it's a play on Specially Processed American Meat, like one of those backronyms for spam. And for me, I feel like, yeah, spam's one of those American foods that sticks out because it's highly, stigmatized, but a lot of Asian Americans eat it. And the history behind it is that the American military personnel brought it over during World War II and the Korean War, and kind of examining how people immigrate to different countries and why, and how it connects to all those war histories is really interesting. And so every time I eat spam, I'm just reminded of it. And I thought that it would be great to actually tell that story in depth.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
I was looking at the video that you sent us, and there's a lot of visual elements when it comes to your work. Can you tell me a little bit more about your process in terms of how you put it together, the visual elements, the text, how it all came together, and or in general, what's your process as an artist?
Yeah, so I actually studied visual art in college. And if you're wondering why I keep looking down, it's because I'm still eating my spam bowl. um, yeah, I studied visual art, and I actually did a lot of painting, which led to sculpture, which led to installation, and then I did a lot of performance art. And then I realized I wanted to create more narrative pieces that included collaborators like musicians, and I thought, okay, this can't fit in a gallery. I need to I need to do it in a theater. So that's how I got into theater. And so my process is very much similar, where I'll start creating a sculpture. So for instance, that big giant slime can of slime that looks like a spam can that I hand painted, that existed before I wrote anything. So I already knew I had this visual where I said, okay, I really want a giant can of spam, but instead of spam, it's pink slime inside.
So you started off with the visuals first before you went on to the script. Was that it?
Right. Yeah. And it was back and forth, because once I had this, my very first work in progress showing was actually through this small festival called FailSafe Festival. It's a newer festival curated by Emma Rivera. Really amazing. You just submit a paragraph of your idea. She doesn't ask for work samples. She just thinks okay, if this is an interesting idea, I'll give you a theater for 2 days and you can figure it out. So she gave me a chance. Emma grew up in Hawaii and really connected with spam. So I got to do that. And that was very, I would say, people told me it felt more in the performance art realm than theater per se, because it was really different sketches of very visceral scenes that I had created, and it wasn't there was no linear narrative or anything like that. And then over time, throughout the different work in progress iterations, I developed that narrative. So now there is a bit of an arc, but you can still see the patchwork of how I created this project over time.
Right.
Still.
So how are you developing the work like right now?
Yeah. So now, basically, we had that first work in progress showing. Then the second one, I developed it further and had more collaborators, and I started toying with, kind of looking deeper into Jamie, me as a character. So it's sort of a fictionalized slash mostly true version of who I am, a dramatized version of who I am, and what that journey would be like. And then for the third iteration, I basically went to Maine with my main collaborator, Matt Chilton, who is the musician and composer for the show. And we just hunkered down and really like used our executive functions to break down what we had into themes and how we wanted our audience to emotionally go through the piece, and then how they followed my personal journey. And then through that, I ended up collecting more family oral histories. I realized that the second iteration of the show really focused on my mom's side of the family. And I realized that I hadn't really talked to my dad about the show. And I also realized like I didn't even invite him to my work in progress showings because I was a lot more nervous about what he would think. And so that journey became part of the show, because it was kind of like, well, why aren't you reaching out to that other side, right? And a big part of my show is that I parallel what's going on with me in my personal life to sort of these global histories. So while there's a Korean War going on, there's sort of this civil war at home where my parents are separating.
Yeah.
And now the catharsis of the piece very much centers around me reconnecting with my father emotionally, and also hearing about his side of the family. I just uncovered so much from that. It really started out with this exploration of spam, but actually through this project, I learned for the very first time all these stories about my relatives in North Korea on both my mom's and my dad's side of the family. And I had known that my dad was born in Pyongyang before, but I never really asked him about, the significance of that in his family.
Right.
So that just uncovered all these stories, and that was really only possible because I had my dramaturg Alex Lee join, who was born and raised in Korea, and so she very very kindly offered interpretation services, basically. So me and Alex and my aunt, my dad's sister and my dad, we all sat together and collected these oral histories in like a 4-hour session. So yeah.
So I heard that you have the set at your house. Can we take a look at it?
Okay, sure. So I will. Basically, what happened was, before this whole coronavirus situation happened, my set designer Kyushin and I were creating different set pieces, and Justin Perkins, who basically built everything with me, came in and assembled parts of our set, which are not complete yet because we had to halt all of our production. But they're just living in my house now, which is really surreal because, the show, I play myself, and my set pieces are backdrops for my life. So I have like a one set piece that represents my dad's house, which I grew up in as a child. And that's like an 8 by 5 foot set piece.
Wow.
And I have all this furniture that I actually grew up with. So this clock over here, I've always had since I was little. I basically went to his house and I said, Dad, can I take this and this and this and this? And whatever he said yes to, I took. This is a Korean, like, Catholic crucifix.
Oh, it's a cross. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a specifically, like, Korean way of doing things. Like, you see these tassels here and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then these cabinets are also Korean, and I have like family photos on top of them. That's grandparents. I don't know if you can see that, but
Right.
yeah. So it's really surreal because I have the fictional depiction of my childhood home in my current home.
And that's it for our behind the scenes look at the artist commissioning program. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And I hope to see you soon.